mixed opinions. Increasing monthly service fees, again, affects the same people that we're kind of trying to help, the folks that, are struggling to pay that $60, $70 a month water and sewer fee. Which is, again, why I think more focus on multifamily apartment type things is, in the future at least, is where I believe we ought to be focusing. I guess I'm not totally opposed to leaving some discretion in there for above 80, but our focus needs to be somewhere else, in my opinion.
Well, what do you think?
I would support that too, but I would like to see some kind of verbiage where we reevaluate it in a year.
You went blind. I mean, you're not talking, Clement.
I'm sorry.
And Jim, what is it?
Well, I was really totally sold on this 80% deal, but this thing here looks good. I can make an exception for this.
So I'm getting the sense from the board, 80 and below is like what we're granting, but we will exercise discretion above 80 for special projects with special community appeal.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And
And
then,
just to be clear, I said 100 to 80.
right.
I didn't go to 120 or 140. Okay.
And I know what your preferences are, which are even lower. So I mean, you're trying to come to a consensus, which I appreciate.
Yes, state your name, please.
Were you guys, if you had people sign up for public comment, were you gonna allow the public comment before a motion?
No.
Not before the vote? Oh, that was the impression we were under of which one we were signing up
That's
for.
why we didn't sign up for public comment.
Yeah, we signed up specifically for this agenda item, and so it kind of seems backward to accept public comment after we make a motion.
Yeah, well, I think we're in discussion right now.
We're in discussion.
We're in discussion.
Is anybody with that was signed up for number 6? Oh, but James,
Yeah, James, let's let James go. James, if you unmute, you can talk.
Good evening, everybody. Can you hear me okay?
no.
No,
No.
Talk loud.
Yeah, turn the volume on the owl.
On the owl, you can turn it on.
There's a plus button on the owl.
Technical ability. There's a plus on here somewhere?
Yeah.
Let's see, let her rip, James.
All right, testing.
It's not,
Yes,
it's
you-
not. You don't have it turned on the computer to read the speaker.
It's not reading owl.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Speak loud.
Testing,
talk.
testing. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I don't want to speak too loud. Is that too loud? Okay. Well, first I want to thank the PAWS board for approving the fee waivers for affordable housing 2020. That was a big step. I definitely will recognize that effort. It really makes a difference and really sets a perspective in the community that PAWS is behind affordable housing, which I'm definitely hearing tonight too. And I really appreciate all the discussion this evening on all the agenda items thus far. And I agree with most everything that's been said. It's very good discussion, and I'm looking forward to working with everybody on housing in the future. As Jim Garrett mentioned, as everybody insinuated, that we all need to be working together. I'm very encouraged by Bill's preliminary motion to consider pushing that up to 100% and a graduated reduced fee waiver for that portion between 80 and 100. I would certainly encourage even going up to 120%, and maybe a little less, maybe 25% fee waiver. And the reason I mention that is a number of reasons, right? So there's a lot of funding for that low income, very low income, I wouldn't say a lot, but the funding streams available right now at the state and federal level are really specific to very low and low income housing. The Prop 123 funding is also focusing on that at 80% and below for rentals, 60% and below for rentals, and 100% and below for purchasing. So the Prop 123 program has designated Archuleta County as a rural resort community. And that's very important to understand because rural resort communities in Colorado, which are mostly small mountain towns, have a very unique housing challenge, much different than the Front Range communities or typical non-tourism driven community. In addition, this rural resort community status gives us the opportunity to petition DOLA to allow us to use higher AMIs in their grant programs. And that's very intentional because they see a lot of cost challenges in these rural resort communities that are much different than non-tourism driven communities. So this housing needs assessment that we were recently funded or I should say Archuleta County was recently funded, awarded $70,000 to do this housing needs assessment. That housing needs assessment will provide the data and the justification for our request to DOLA for using higher AMIs for their grant programs, which is really important. The CHAFA annual table for affordable rents and purchase prices. We appreciate the work that CHAFA does on that. It does give us some guidance, but we, along with all the other poor communities in Colorado, we're all lumped in the same category at the bottom, which does indicate that we didn't have a very specific and very detailed analysis of our community. And I say that because even CHAFA staff members have indicated that we are lumped together with the poor communities in Colorado. So it's we really need to see about getting a little bit more detailed study. So we're a little bit more specific on our community because it's very evident that we're just lumped together with the others and there wasn't a lot of detailed analysis in our community to determine what that AMI and our rent structure is in our community. With that said, our housing needs are across the board, right? This from very low and all the way up through the middle income as well. The middle income is really impacted because there's really not any funding for those middle income housing options, right? So we go, let me try to explain this appropriately. So developers, unless they're getting some incentives, they're not building anything under market rate, right? It doesn't pencil out for them. So there is a gap between this 80 and 100% that Prop 123 is designed for and what PAWS is looking to approve for some incentives. And that gap really does impact the middle income families in our community. There is no incentives for them except at the local level. It's the town and the county waiving fees for their building plan review fees, development application fees. It's the county waiving, property taxes, certainly set up currently as 100% of AMI and under. And it's really our local incentives that are really going to help that middle income bracket for housing products. So with that said, I really want to encourage the PAWS board to consider a little higher than 100% and in a graduated scale, being that maybe that 100 to 120% only gets a 25% waiver fee. I think ultimately, we're a pretty small community of 12 to 13,000 people. In my mind, I think the best way to handle this, and I had talked to a number of folks over many years about this, is to have a scenario where we're all working together under an MOU so we can bring a developer an incentive package that includes everything, right? Includes pause waivers, anything La Plata might have, the county, the town, CDC, DOLA, whatever it is, it's one package that we're working with the developer. It's really hard for developers to, okay, I've got to go to pause for this waiver. I got to go to the town for this waiver. I've got to go to the county for this waiver. It's really complicated. And that's why we don't have a lot of people interested, because it's just this funding stacking process that's very complicated. With this grant we were just awarded for the regional or multi-jurisdictional housing coordinator, my hope is that that'll prove that we can all work together and come up with one incentive package that we can work with developers on. I know that's a side note, maybe a little off topic here, but with that said, I really want to encourage the PAWS board to consider a little higher than 80, certainly higher than 100% in their fee waiver considerations. Thank you, and I do appreciate all the work everybody in this room is doing and the PAWS board. So thank you, everybody. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
I live downtown, and I would say the most distorted and most inaccurate grouping that happens is not between Austin or the towns, but it's between the town and the county. If you took a look at the actual data, which is really expertly collected for the short-term rental study, it is one of the most distressing portraits of income in Coastal Springs. And so to the degree that we focus on 80% and below, and then 80 to 100% when it has broad buy-in, and it's, I think that would help my fellow townspeople much more than incentivizing a newer population. Basically, I think a newer, brighter, college-educated population for Coastal Springs.
Can you hear the other comments though?
Sure. I'm just reacting to,
I lost Bill first.
Good evening, gentlemen. Thank you very much. Joe Kuzan, I'm the executive director of Coastal Springs Chamber of Commerce. They always say don't follow really good speakers, so between Emily and James, I'll fumble through. I can't tell you how encouraged I am hearing you tonight and your support of Chris Madden. We have been working on this project for over 6 years. And years ago, when we went to USDA and we went to the Department of Ag and we went to DOLA, there was never any money. They thought we had 3 heads. And then COVID happened and now we have money. But Gary's right, this project wouldn't happen if it wasn't in the hands of Emily Blashbrook. So thank you. I'm gonna reiterate what James has said, and I'm gonna push you to look at the 120. And here's some of the reasons. There's a lot of pieces of the puzzle here. Employers can't find employees. One of the things they're doing is they're raising their rates. That's great. But it also pushes them out of some of these lower AMI categories. So they don't qualify for that low and very low income housing. In addition, all of the housing units have anywhere from 10 to 40 people on a waiting list and years out, from elderly to regular affordable housing. We have been working with developers that have come here and purchased land at market value. And they are willing to build multi-family housing, so apartments, as you mentioned, Director Douches. And as James said, the CHFA numbers that are here are very high. So is it affordable for 250 square feet at $950 a month? Probably not, but that is what is here. And that's what CHFA is saying is affordable. It's not. The developers that we have worked with and are working with right now are looking at a combination of alternatives. They would like to build a multifamily housing structure unit. They would offer some at market value and some at deed restriction in order to qualify for some of the Proposition 123 money. So looking at the 125 is not unreasonable. Here's another scenario. One person gets a job, that's great, but in most cases, it's what we have called a trailing spouse. So now there are two people that are moving here to this community. Between their two incomes, it pushes them out of, again, this low to very low income qualification. They can't take a job, one can find a job, they can't find housing, we lose two people, we don't lose one person. Typically, we will lose two. These developers, I encourage you as a board to look at either, as James said, look at a percentage of a discount. There are some units in the process right now of being built. If there are not any credits, that will stop. We are at a risk right now of losing almost 200 multifamily units. Just when we're on the cusp of making a scratch of a dent into affordable housing, it could stop. And we need to look forward to, you're right, not everybody can afford a house. They need a place to live though. And not everybody can go into low income or very low income. Also consider many of these low income projects are LIHTC projects. There are limited LIHTC projects available for the builders, and it's a very competitive process. So they are using their own money and their own investment to build these units here in our community. We need everything in this community. Not everybody is to be in a house. I moved from 5,000 square feet to about 1,200. I'm the happiest girl ever, and I never want to go back to a big house again. But we have people, there are people that work the job, the restaurants, as you mentioned, the restaurants up at Wolf Creek, the Springs, everything. They partner, they room together. There are two incomes there. Please think about stretching. I know it's hard. You want to stick to that 100%. But here's the other caveat. Agencies such as CHAPA and DOLA are looking at, they raised their AMIs from 100 to 120 because of the cost of the builds and the raise in wages for people. And here you're looking at lowering. Can you stay with what is out there right now with the agencies helping to set the AMI? I encourage you, please stretch a little bit more. The business community is struggling to get people here, and we need to help them in some way, shape, or form. And I hope that you will consider that. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Rosanna Dufour, 241 Arrowhead Drive. Most people in this room would know me as Rosie. I bought DSP Pizzeria in 2011. I was a single mother of 2 children, and I would have qualified for all of these programs at that point. I grew that business over the course of 10 years to be a 38-person staff. And I watched all of these struggles with all of those employees, as well as I went through a lot of them myself. And what I came here tonight to support Emily as a board member of the CDC. But as this conversation has transpired, I feel compelled to explain to you as a business owner that has actually lived through this, my observations. And my observation is this. Yes, under 80%, absolutely, we have a housing crisis on our hands. However, between 80 and 100%, the only difference in those people is they're trying harder. They have 2 income families where one is working during the day, the other one is working as a server for me at night, not getting home, doesn't get her kids to bed. And And that's how they are getting above that 80% that knocks them out of all of these options. And so it's disheartening for me to think that them trying harder is what is gonna set them apart to not be able to have the opportunity of home ownership that they would have had if they weren't giving every effort that they could. So I really also please encourage you to consider that 100 to 120 AMI, because I ran my own payroll that entire time. And I know that families with 120% AMI are still struggling to make their minimum payments, sacrificing things that a family should not have to sacrifice. Yeah.
And I would just note that, that I accept that every part of the housing market,
I'm sorry.
yeah, no, I thought.
I might as well be last because I'll probably be the worst speaker. I'm Shelley Keplinger. I'm the CFO at the hospital here in town. And we are, continuing to grow as one of the largest employers in this county. We've seen the same struggles everybody else has. One thing I would like to add to that is that we are in a unique situation where our salaries last year increased by 20%, but we could only raise our rates 4%. We're capped. So every time something like this happens and we can't get a person in here and we have to pay additional money because they can't get an affordable house, it just continues to make healthcare more and more expensive. And so it is our mission as an organization to try to make healthcare more affordable in this county for the county residents. And so we are piloting several different programs and trying to make that happen here. But one of those is something like this that can really help us out. And so I would encourage you to look, and I appreciate all the conversation tonight. I appreciate you being in a bad spot. I'm in one of the most highly regulated industries in the world, and I get it. And but I do think that 100% AMI would be wonderful. 120 at some level would be really great for us. We are in a unique situation where we have staff from minimum wage all the way up to, our highly paid positions. And so we have everything in the middle. And so we have actually had employees sleeping in their cars in the parking lot. And that is really, really hard for us to watch. So I appreciate everything all the conversation tonight, and I appreciate you thinking about the hospital when you make your decision, and we'll continue down the path to create more affordable healthcare in this community to help everyone out as well to do our part. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I was just gonna get some time.
Real quick, I had several people that want to talk. Does everybody else want to talk? I know Dave, you were in it.
No, you go ahead, please.
I didn't sign up to speak, but I came in late too. Can I speak from here? This is okay? Okay. I've lived here all my life. I grew up here. I was raised by a single mom in this town. And I watched my mother struggle with 3 and 4 jobs just to keep a roof over our heads. I wish to hell there would have been a project like this so I could see that my mom wouldn't have to work that hard. She was lucky enough, as we got old enough and got jobs, me and my brother were able to help her get through this and keep the home. We still have that home. My mom still lives in it today. But the thing is, this is a rarity. This is a fundamental footstep to get it started, to get a program going. We don't know all the ins and outs of everything until we implement this. And then we can modify it. Then we can fine tune it. The other part is, a lot of the multi-housing units, I'd love to see those come in. But with the costs that we have now and the rates that are there now, they don't pencil. That's why you don't see a lot of them popping up. Honestly, I think the right thing is always the hardest thing to do. And that's what I always say all the time. I know Warren and Derek and Veronica, they get tired of hearing me say that, but it definitely is the hardest thing to do. And the one thing is, hospital district, professional people that really keep the wheels turning in Archuleta County can't live here because there's no place for them to live. And we need to do the right thing. It's hard, but I encourage you guys, please, let's all work together. Let's all help it out.
Thank you.
Good evening, David Harris, I'm the town manager for Pagosa Springs. Give you an idea, a little bit of where I've come from. I really appreciate what y'all are wrestling with, and I appreciate y'all keeping in mind the ratepayers. I'm a ratepayer too. Proud to say I am now. I'm moving up here from South Texas. I've run utilities before. I've run sewer and water systems before. I know this isn't easy when new mandates are handed down and you're struggling to try and make ends meet and budgets fit. So I commend you all for doing that. What I want to speak to is not only the need to help address these community-wide programs, and of course, that y'all are doing, but also I want to speak to, if I can real quickly, item 13 on the memorandum of understanding you'll be taking up later. Y'all have a willing partner in the town, and we're here to work with you. We're excited. I'm excited. There's a lot coming up down the pipe, and appreciate y'all for what y'all are doing. Whatever we can do to help move things forward as a community, we're here for it. So thank you.
Thank you.
Well, anybody else? One sec.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. My name is Kim Moore. I've lived here 27 years. I love this community. It's very special and it is very unique. I've never been in a place where people do work together. And I commend this evening because Bill Hudson's one of the first people I met doing a play when we first moved here. And I've known a lot of you for the whole time that I've lived here. And I am deeply moved with the need as a realtor. You know, when I started here, I mean, I could sell you a little house for $99,000. That same house today is going from $399,000 to $425,000. I have it under contract today. And I sold it 13 years ago to an elderly gentleman who is now 93. It was $124,000 when he bought it. It was built in 1980, so it makes it kind of an antique here in our community. And we have it under contract today for $385,000. Now, is it 4 times better, even though it's 14 years older? But that's what our market is. So people, you know, that are buying those are young couples trying to get their first house. It is imperative that we make allowances. And I am so deeply moved for all of these community groups that are putting in. I mean, I think what Jim said in his booming voice, he's in our Rotary, so we do hear him frequently. But the fact that we each are giving something, some a little more, some a little less, but it's for the greater good of this community. We have a very, very special community, and I don't think there's one of you sitting in this room that doesn't acknowledge when we see all the mess going on around the world. Every day, I thank my lucky stars and thank God I live in Pagosa Springs. I mean, my granddaughters, when they come, they're only about 10 or 11. Grandma, do we have to go in the grocery store with you? Because you don't just go in there for 5 minutes because you meet everybody, right? How good a feeling is that to know that, you know, one day I left my wallet and the guy behind me said, hey, here's my credit card. Where does that happen? Right here. So thank you for your time, your consideration, and each and every one of you that are here today. Thank you.
Is there anybody else who wants to speak? No? Okay.
No.
All right, you was fixing to say, you had a comment.
I'm just saying, this is a difficult time, and we have 2 operations here. My opinion is we have to spread the pain of this imposition, and we have to focus the benefit. I appreciate that every level of this market is difficult. But, you know, the new guidelines are gonna come out in May. And 120% for a single person is gonna be over $75,000 a year. I'm sure that's not the easiest market, but I don't think a single person making $75,000 a year is in crisis. For a family of four, it's probably gonna go towards $110,000 a year. Again, there could be all sorts of private sorrows and difficulties, but I don't know that we can focus the benefits that we can focus on housing with $110,000. Now, if other districts that aren't kicking in as much as us, like I don't think the fire district, wanted to focus there to supplement us, that would be great. I sympathize with David because we're crying up here, but we're in the same bind. That same mandate is hitting the town of Goshen Springs. We started with rates of $34 and $1,100 when we started budgeting for our portion of Reg 85. The town has been great partners, like very fair partners on this. When they start budgeting for their Reg 85 component, they're starting from 66. And I don't know what the capital investment fee is, but it's much higher than 1,100. So when you budget for your contribution to 85, you're going to be in the same position as us. And if you can see your way to giving fee discounts to folks making families making $110,000 a year, I'd like to hear how that happens because I don't want to be intellectually dishonest with Justin and with Renee, but Aaron was in here, and if he's listening to this, is sweating bullets. There does come a point where the taxpayer subsidized housing does start to knock down our market CIS. If you want us to do that, that means instead of turning to our customers and asking them for $2 water and $2.50 wastewater, and then adding 400 to the water CIF and 700 or 800 to the wastewater, in order to move up to 120 to the $110,000 a year families, it has to go to 4 and 5, and water has to go up another 900. And we have to tell these folks who we just hit with 15.6 that no, that's going to have to go up to 18,250 or something like that. You know, I want to focus the benefit 80 and below right now and be very open to 80 and 100 where we can really focus the benefit. And just, I'll shut up after this. We're very confident that we have this light tech housing. We have a light tech project proposed for Aspen Village, and we got real I&I problems. And if this community wants that to happen, which is 50 units for people at 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, we might have to reserve some of this goodwill that we would have at 120 AMI to rescue that project. And I've asked a lot of smart people, and more in affordable housing, what's going on at Hickory Ridge? Because I don't know. It's after 15 years, projects can choose to what they call working out, and they can choose to go market. Is Hickory Ridge, have they re-upped for another 15 years? Have they discussed working out and going market? Because we could lose 39 units there unless we have money to convince them. I'm just asking. I've asked.
I don't know,
Yeah.
I think they're under new ownership right now.
Right.
Yeah.
James is
Yeah.
looking at possible grants.
Right. So we may need to direct even more money to keep those 39 units we have. So. Yeah.
I agree with you. I think we need to, we can't solve everybody's problems. We're in a situation like a good friend of mine says, sometimes the more we give, the more everybody wants. And right now, I'm tuned in to this one project right here with these two that made the presentations right now. Then keep it under 80. I think the working bees is our concentration right now, and that's the low 80s. Right. And so I'm thinking this project, get this one going. And then we can see down the road what we might do later. Maybe we can't do no more, that may be all it is. But we'll see if we're hard and feather, who said that, you?
I think I said that.
Bill did.
There's a lot of kind of, inspiring kind of ideas, but I think in front of us, we have like an actual inspiring project that's building upon some colossal mistakes we made and putting what really, for us to put that water and wastewater infrastructure, Justin said it might, I'm saying 7, it could be $10 million. So let's focus there right now.
So I'm gonna refresh you that I have a motion on the floor to waive fees for 80% families at 80% and below, and 50% between 100 and 80, and to be open to 100% for community supported projects if the board decides at the board's discretion. So that's how I'm modifying the resolution that we have. And I'd be glad to do a vote and see if that passes.
With the 15-year deed restriction?
The 15-year deed restriction, yes. 15-year deed restriction.
But that's another, because we're setting at 15, but when we exercise our discretion and people come to us with 30, 33, and 38, there's another, we get them twice as much housing. I mean, that's a crude way to say it, but, so we do, I do want to have that discretion.
You want to have discretion on the number
Between 80 and 100, I want to be able to focus that benefit on the best projects.
Not 50%, but discretion.
Yeah, correct.
So you don't want the 50%?
No, well, I'm gonna vote for almost every, but I want to have some discretion between 80. And you know what, if some gangbuster project comes in, like Brooke says, that is focusing here, but there's grant money available and matching funds, if it goes a little above 100 and it actually pencils out, I'm not saying 100 is the limit.
But I am. I'm saying 100 is the limit.
Right, I'm just saying 80 is what, yeah, and we will consider above 80 and exercise discretion based upon project by project basis. That's what I'm saying.
It seems like it's, in some respects, a catch-22. Call this whatever you want, it's a caused loss of revenue. And I'm hoping we can come to a good solution. So that loss of revenue, we did our rate study and it shook out how it shook out. If we somehow replace this loss of revenue, and we've been talking about 50-50 on the surcharge to existing customers and the other 50 on CIF for new construction. Is what's that going to do to growth if the developer comes in and boy, just barely pencils out at the today, and we've got to add a few $100 to it. And to me, the last 2 or 3 people that spoke were excellent arguments, but they were probably very good arguments, and I'll shut up, for apartments. And if we've got one in Aspen Village that's on the books for
It's in the works.
however many, 50, we should jump on that as best we can. Because it is gonna, in my opinion, it's gonna help the most people. It's gonna help a lot of people probably under 80 and nobody above 80. But let's help the most that we can. And I totally understand and get that there, like James alluded to, and several of you, there was that gap, that 80 to 100 gap, and maybe even a little gap above that we're not gonna necessarily be able to help out as much as we would like. But, is it a quality versus quantity issue? I don't know.
Sure. Real quick, Mayor. So what do you want us to do for the surcharge?
I want to base the surcharge on the 12 and 8, because that's what funds our CIF projection.
Can we do that as a separate? thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of a.
Because we haven't even got a vote on this yet, so.
Can I just make one more clarification? That there was, I have to find my note, but someone had mentioned they wanted to see this this policy revisited annually.
Yeah,
Paul was saying that, yeah.
Also.
We can always do that.
We can always revisit it.
Yeah.
Do you want it in the resolution?
I don't need it in the resolution. I don't need it in the resolution.
Paul? Did you catch that?
You're muted, Paul. Paul, you're muted.
You're muted, Paul.
Yeah, I heard that. I just thought it would be good to set a date when we revisit it, you know, and if it's, you know, if we're doing well, then, you know, we can modify it. If we're doing really, you know, getting behind the 8 ball, then it's gonna be harder.
I mean, I think we're just gonna have to constantly revisit it.
Yeah.
Because we never know what the CDPHE is gonna decide. I mean, we like
That's a
to,
big thing, yeah.
we like to think that as we build this oxidation trench, you can look at it and say, okay, so your nitrogen is down 7, great guys, you're in the boat, but the rest of the
They might
country are
say
31, and it makes sense to say something else,
Right.
so.
We can look at it anytime.
Yeah. I mean, I'll vote for bills if there's a second vote, and if there's not, I'm happy to do the 80 hard and then above 80 with discretion. So I'm fine with both. So if there's a second vote for bills, I'll vote, and if there's not,
You seconded those.
no, I mean, if there's another vote, then I'll provide the third, because I think
Because people can't pass it.
they're close, they're so close that I don't wanna roll the dice on the second one. So,
Okay.
So yours stands at 80 and below is given, 80 to 100 is 50.
Is 50 with discretion to make it 100? Okay, with discretion to make it 100.
I'm ready to vote.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
aye. I think they're so close.
All right, I'll vote aye.
Okay.
Nay.
Okay. 4 to 1. Motion carries. Right, let's move right along. Don't take a break right now. Everybody stretch.
I hope you enjoyed all that.
Oh, yeah, I think I have to go to the bathroom again. Put me on the hot seat.
Thank you.
So what do you have now?
Yeah, come on down and see the whole family Friday. Child invited wrong. I have Renee's email. And yeah.